Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, Sony did give an update on God of War Ragnarok, though I don't know if this is necessarily the update that many fans were hoping for. Now, actually, there seems to be a little bit of concern on whether or not this game's even going to release this year or not. So, we're going to talk about that one a little later on in the video, and then also Xbox's flagship title, Halo Infinite, will be moving into Season 2, and it does seem like they're following a little bit of a trend here, but with their own unique spin on things. Definitely think this one is interesting, so we'll talk about that one later on as well. Per usual though, if you do enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button below. It does help out the channel a ton, and plus go and hit that bell notification and subscribe button as well. That way you can keep up to date with all of the latest gaming news. To get things started off today though, we are going to talk about a couple of release dates, both for platformers actually, one being KO the Kangaroo, and then the other one, Klonoa Reverie series. Now if you all know me, I am a big fan of 3D platformers, so I'm actually personally really looking forward to KO the Kangaroo, as I do think that this looks like a pretty good game. You can definitely see that this game is heavily inspired by games like Crash Bandicoot 4 and Donkey Kong Country, and that really shows up in IGN's latest video on KO the Kangaroo, as we're showing here. Yeah, it wears its heart on the sleeves, but hey, I'm okay with that because it does look like a pretty solid 3D platformer. And the good news here is that this one is actually going to release just next month on May 27th for PlayStation, Xbox, the Nintendo Switch, as well as PC. So if you do like 3D platformers as I do, you might want to mark your calendars for KO the Kangaroo again on May 27th. Now, as for Klonoa Reverie series, this is actually a remaster of Klonoa 1 and 2, which originally launched on the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2. After all these years, though, Klonoa is finally returning, which gives us hope for maybe another completely new installment sometime in the future. But if you want to go back and play one of the better platformers from that era, you will be able to play the Klonoa Phantasy Reverie series on July 8th for PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and PC. And really, I would like to see these games do well because I have enjoyed the fact that we have seen so many of these platformers return here in recent years. I'd like to see that continue on in the coming years as well. But one thing to kind of note with the Klonoa release, if you are a physical collector, unfortunately there will not be a physical United States version. That is a little disappointing, but if it is absolutely necessary for you to get that physical version, you can import it from places such as Europe. On to our next topic here, the possibility of a Star Fox Zero Nintendo Switch port seems to be rising just a little bit here. Now this is because a prominent Nintendo artist by the name of Takuya Imamura, which has worked on various Nintendo titles from 1989 to 2021, he's worked on the Star Fox franchise, F-Zero, Zelda, and just kind of the list goes on, and of course, Star Fox Zero. Now, interestingly enough, on the 6-year anniversary of Star Fox Zero, he actually posted this up over on Twitter. Dear Nintendo, today 6 years have passed since the release of Star Fox Zero. We know there are challenges to overcome, but please, port the game to the Switch. Also, if you can produce a sequel to the animation, I would be in charge of scenarios and content. I look forward to working with you. Best regards. So there you have it, and it is pretty interesting hearing an artist that worked on Star Fox Zero kind of lobby for that Nintendo Switch port. And this is not the only time we've heard a developer that previously worked on Star Fox Zero kind of publicly lobby for this Switch port. Just last year, you had Atsushi Inaba over at Platinum Games saying that he would like to do a Switch port as well. So on one side, there's definitely some people out there that wants this to happen, but all at the same time, well, Nintendo actually put the effort into making this port, and that right there is an entirely different story. See, I think from a fan's perspective, we would love to see as many of those Wii U exclusives be ported over to the Nintendo Switch, because for as bad as the Wii U sold, it was definitely not a success to say the least. There was actually some really good exclusives on that console, and ironically, it's proving that on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, you take a look at games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you take a look at Tokyo Mirage Session, Mario 3D Land, plus Bowser's Fury, and just kind of the list goes on and on. The Wii U had some really good games, it just was not a successful console. So yeah, in an ideal world, we would love to see just basically the entire Wii U library be ported over to the Nintendo Switch eventually. And I think so far, Nintendo, they've done a pretty good job at that, minus a few games such as Xenoblade X, that still needs to make it over to the Switch, and then here with Star Fox Zero. But the thing about Star Fox Zero is it's kind of the odd one out here because unlike some of these other games that have been ported over to the Switch, they were critically acclaimed and they just needed a platform to really showcase how good they actually were. Unfortunately for Star Fox Zero though, this is a game that was heavily criticized and it actually has a 69 overall score on Metacritic. And Nintendo, they absolutely understand that. So with it kind of struggling both critically and commercially, I don't know how much faith Nintendo actually has in this game per se. Now maybe they try it again if they do fix the controls, that would actually probably, improve it a little bit there. But, whether or not this statement here will actually sway Nintendo's decision or not, I'm not entirely sure, but let me know what you think about all of this. Would you like to see a port of Star Fox Zero on the Nintendo Switch? Next up, Sony did give us an update for God of War Ragnarok. This happened yesterday on God of War 2018's 4-year anniversary, which is still, in my opinion, one of the most perfect single-player games of all time. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of excitement for God of War Ragnarok, but I'm not sure this is necessarily the update that a lot of fans were hoping for, and in fact, this particular update might have caused more concern than anything else. The reason for this is because yesterday, during the 4-year anniversary of God of War 2018, Cory Barlog, which was the creative director for God of War 2018, posted a video kind of celebrating that 4-year anniversary. And that's all fine and everything. You can actually take a look at the post made here, where they say, 4 years ago, God of War 2018 released. We're grateful to all of you who joined Kratos and Atreus on their journey, and we're so proud of the team who worked to bring it to life. While we're not ready to share an update about what comes next, here's a quick message from Cory. And that right there is what people are concerned about. If you do want to listen to the video, you absolutely can, but Cory does note that they are not ready to show an update for God of War Ragnarok. He simply says that whenever there is an update ready, they absolutely will share it as soon as possible. So that's kind of where we are, and as soon as people heard this, it seems like a lot of people's immediate thought was, okay, well, it's April, and this game's supposed to be out in 2022, but we're getting no information on this game. So is it actually going to release in 2022? It almost feels like a bit of a repeat from last year when there was a lot of speculation around Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Forbidden West was supposed to release in 2021, and there was no update on it, and we just kind of waited and waited and waited, and eventually they just decided, hey, we're going to delay it into 2022. And that was, again, perfectly fine, which we'll kind of get back to here in just a moment. But there is that concern right now on whether or not God of War Ragnarok will actually release this year. And I do understand the concern there, but however, at the same time, we do need to keep in mind that this post really was made as a celebration for the anniversary of God of War, which again is one of the greatest single-player experiences ever made. So we kind of got to look at it through that lens as well. There's not really a confirmation here. Sure, it's not necessarily what you want to hear that they have no update on God of War Ragnarok, but still there's plenty of time in 2022, and we are starting to head into the event season. I can't really call it E3 season anymore, but we are heading into the event season in the coming months. So we could end up getting a big PlayStation event between really now or even up to September, and whenever that event will end up happening, that might be the place where we get that official God of War update where we do hear about a release date, hopefully in 2022. Now, all at the same time, when I look at how PlayStation releases their games, I think that if God of War Ragnarok does not release by the end of September, yeah, there is a possibility that this could end up being pushed back to early 2022. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the history of PlayStation here in recent years, this is kind of how they've been releasing their heavy hitters. They really haven't been targeting those holiday months outside of the PlayStation 5 launch. If you go back and look at some of their heavy hitters, here was the months that they released in. You have Ghost of Tsushima, that was July. The Last of Us Part 2 released in June. God of War 2018, that was April. Horizon Forbidden West, February. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart released in June. And then you have Spider-Man, which released in September. So it does seem like Sony likes to release their games before the holiday months, as it has absolutely been working out for them very, very well, as a lot of these games have sold just a ton of units. But even then, I'm just kind of speculating here, and I really do hope that God of War Ragnarok releases sometime in 2022. And again, who knows, it could end up releasing during the holiday months. I'm just kind of spitballing here. If it doesn't, I expect early 2023, and I'm perfectly fine with that as well. As long as this game gets the time that it needs to end up being a good game, then that's really all that matters to me. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below, though. Do you think God of War Ragnarok will release in 2022, or do you think it will be pushed back to 2023? Moving on, we did get an update for Halo Infinite regarding Season 2. Now, whether or not you believe Season 2 has enough content or not, they did give us an update today on some of the different game modes that it'll be offering, including Last Spartan Standing. And this particular game mode here looks really interesting and I think is going to be enticing for a lot of fans out there. Now, one thing about Halo Infinite, and this discussion has been happening even before this game released, and that is whether or not Halo Infinite should offer its own Battle Royale style of game. Should they follow that trend and try to bring in that huge, just massive Battle Royale crowd, or should they just stick to Halo's roots? That has been the ongoing debate within the Halo community. And what 343 here is doing with Last Spartan Standing is absolutely brilliant. As you can see here in the video, it looks like it's just this perfect mix of a miniature Battle Royale with Halo's core mechanics. You can kind of see the danger zone closing in, and it pushes all the Spartans in together, but it's got that Halo twist to it. We can actually take a look over here at the official description of this game mode, where it says that Last Spartan Standing is based around the Lone Wolves theme of Season 2. In this free-for-all experience, 12 players spawn on big team battle maps with a confined loadout and 5 respawns. Once a player runs out of respawns and can no longer participate, they can either spectate or leave the match without penalty. If a player gets a kill in the match, they can upgrade to a different weapon, something players of Escalation Slayer will no doubt be familiar with. The match ends where there is just one Spartan left standing. So this is essentially Halo's version of a miniature Battle Royale, and it actually sounds like a lot of fun, and I really like that they're kind of putting their own spin on things here. Now, I don't know if this is going to necessarily attract that Battle Royale crowd per se, but I think the Halo community is really going to be happy with this game mode. And even if this doesn't necessarily attract that massive Battle Royale style of crowd, we're also currently hearing that Certain Affinity, which has been confirmed to have a much bigger role on Halo Infinite from this point forward, it is rumored that they are working on a traditional Battle Royale style of game. So I think when all things are kind of said and done, that most people are going to be pretty happy with what is being offered in Halo Infinite. It does seem like that they have some big plans going forward, and I really do like this update here with Last Spartan Standing. It just really feels like that perfect blend that's going to make the Halo community rather happy. On to our final topic of the day, though, we did get an update for LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. The thing about this particular game is that it is a much more ambitious LEGO game that we have seen in the past. Because of that, it did take them a little longer to develop, and it did receive various delays, but how would all of this actually translate into success? Well, in terms of critical reception, it does have an 83 overall score on Metacritic, so it's good over there, but now it's also been confirmed that it has already sold 3.2 million units across all platforms since it first launched. Now, considering this game just released earlier this month on April 5th, that is absolutely outstanding. Yeah, I would say all of the delays and the wait was well worth it when it comes to Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Overall, it's a good game. Fans seem to like it. Critics seem to like it. It's also sold very well. And I think that this just kind of once again shows you if you give developers the time to make a good game, it can end up paying off and you can be heavily rewarded as we're seeing here. It's much better than rushing a game out to the market. And I think some of these other studios and publishers out there might want to take note of this. You know, EA, I'm talking to you here with Battlefield 2042. Let's not make that mistake again. Use LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga as an example here. Now, at the same time, this is also why I'm not necessarily worried about God of War Ragnarok. When it releases, it releases. As long as it's a good game, that's really all that matters to me. But either way, though, big congrats to TT Games and LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Speaking of Star Wars, there's a lot of Star Wars games being planned for this generation, so let's go take a look at the poll of the day where I asked you all, if you're interested in any of the upcoming Star Wars games, which one are you most excited about? And as you can see here, most of you all being 43% are excited for Jedi Fallen Order 2. Then 32% of you all voted for the KOTOR remake, 13% of you all voted for the Ubisoft massive open world game. Then you have Star Wars Eclipse at 7%. And then here at the bottom, you have the Amy Hennig action adventure Star Wars game. Now, I did actually think that there was going to be more people excited for that specific release there, but I do think that this poll kind of tells you something. It's much easier to get excited about sequels and remakes than it is completely new IP. Yes, they're all from the Star Wars franchise, that very much is true, but there are certain expectations when it comes to already well-established sequels and, of course, remakes than it is new IP that we've really not seen much on. Star Wars Eclipse definitely looks interesting, to say the least, but we don't really know much about it, and it still looks like that game is years and years away. Same thing with the Ubisoft massive open world game. We don't know much about that game just yet, and neither do we know anything about the Amy Hennig action-adventure game either. So yeah, I can completely understand why a lot of you all would vote for Jedi Fallen Order 2 or the KOTOR remake. We know the first Jedi Fallen Order game was very good, so that's kind of the expectations with the sequel. And of course, KOTOR is often viewed as the greatest Star Wars game to ever be made, so there's obviously going to be a lot of excitement for the remake here. Now, I'm not necessarily the biggest Star Wars fan myself, but I think one thing that you're seeing here is that, yeah, for you Star Wars fans out there, you will definitely have a lot to look forward to this generation. And what's kind of crazy about this is that I couldn't even fit all of the Star Wars games on this single list here. There's also that Star Wars first-person shooter that's being developed by Respawn Entertainment, and we know just how good of a studio that is, so yeah, again, you all have a lot to look forward to this generation. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.